We're going to be setting up some HTML components now. Since this course is about Ethereum, we won't be concentrating too much on HTML. In the previous lesson, we set up our developer's desktop. In this video, we're going to initialize the front-end code. You can start off where you left off in the previous lesson, or if you'd like, you can clone the GitHub repository from the previous lesson directly using the following command. If you do clone the repository, you'll end up with a folder called Class 1. This folder will contain all the files from the previous lesson. The first thing you need to do is inside this directory run the command npm install. This will download and install all the package dependencies and place them inside the Node modules folder. The first thing we're going to do is to set up a CSS file, which will dictate the styling of our HTML page. We don't need to code this from scratch. You can simply go to the following URL and copy the text from there. So let's go back to the terminal, and from there I'm going to open Atom inside the project directory. Inside the src folder, which stands for source, you'll find another folder called CSS. Inside there, go ahead and create a new file and call it app.css. Now copy and paste the text from the URL inside this file. Don't forget to save. Now it's time to code the main JavaScript file for our project, which is called app.js. You can find it under the JS folder inside the src folder. After defining app, we're going to use jQuery to see when the document is ready. Basically, a page can't be manipulated safely until the document is ready. jQuery can detect the state of readiness for you using this code. Code included inside the document ready part will only run once the page document object model, or DOM, is ready for JavaScript code to execute. So inside the ready function, we're going to call our app's first function, which we're calling init. And init is a very simple function. All it does is it returns another function, which we're going to call init web3. We'll go ahead and initialize the init web3 function, but we'll leave it as a to-do for the actual implementation. Don't forget the commas after the function declarations. So let's go ahead and save this file. So to recap, after the document is ready, we're going to call a function called init. Init will call another function called init web3, and we'll implement init web3 in a different lesson. Next, we're going to start coding our home page. You can find the index.html file inside the src folder. The document type is HTML, and inside the head, we're going to define a title. Let's add a link to our CSS file. We'll also add several script references. One for jQuery, another for Bootstrap, one for Web3, one for Truffle contract, and of course we'll add a reference to our app.js file. So let's begin coding the body of our home page. We'll add a header with the project name, in this case Chatway Lite. We'll add a smaller header and we'll add a description. We'll say the Ethereum messenger. Finally, to break the section, we'll add a horizontal line. Now let's add a few simple labels. The first we'll call contract address, which will open up a new page. We'll turn off spell check. We'll give it a default text, could not load. We'll enter a couple of break lines. The next labels are similar, so let's copy and paste. A contract owner, an Ethereum address, and finally your balance. And notice your balance is a text area. We'll close the body and we'll close the HTML. Don't forget to save the file before exiting. Back in the terminal, let's see what our website looks like so far. We can do this by running Lite server, and the command is npm run dev. This will automatically open a web browser, and you can see how our simple website looks like so far, with the labels and the headers. In the next lessons, we'll be populating the code that will bring this app to life. But for now, let's close the dev server and clear the console. If you had trouble following along, feel free to download the code so far using the git clone command from our repository. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.